News with Mitsumi Takahashi.
Good evening. In just less than 45 minutes, the crew in the Orion space capsule will pass into the dark side of the moon. It's going to lose contact with NASA, and there will be no signal from that capsule for 40 minutes until the capsule emerges on the other side. And until then, I think the world will be holding its collective breath. Earlier this afternoon, the Artemis II mission made history in Sweden. The astronauts have now traveled farther from Earth than any humans have ever gone.
That's right, Mitsumi. At 1:56 p.m., Artemis II broke the record for traveling the farthest from Earth. And as you mentioned, in about an hour, they're going to go even further as they go around behind the moon. I'm here at the Canadian Space Agency. I'm not sure if you can see the screen behind me, but they're showing the mission live, and staff here say it's a historic moment. Now, here's a live shot from NASA. The crew launched into space on April 1st. It's a 10-day test mission to make sure the Orion spacecraft and the systems work well for future space missions. And there are 4 astronauts on board, including Canada's very own Jeremy Hansen. Now, so in terms of what to expect, at 7:02 p.m., the crew will be getting as close as it possibly can to the moon. And then 5 minutes later, the Orion will be the furthest away from Earth at 406,000 kilometers. So the mission, it's a mission breaking this mission breaking the record set by Apollo 13 back in 1970. In Mitsumi, as you mentioned, there will be a loss of signal for like around 40 minutes as the spacecraft flies behind the moon. No doubt everyone here on Earth will be holding their breath as the 4 astronauts complete the loop. Now, earlier today, I spoke with senior scientist Tim Hultigan, and here's what he had to say.
So imagine holding a basketball at about arm's length. That's going to be the perspective that the astronauts have from the Orion capsule. And so it's going to be a view that very, very few eyes have ever seen before. And so they're going to be documenting some of the impact craters, the ancient lava flows that they see, and really collecting important data that's going to help prepare for future robotic and human exploration as well.
At 9:20 p.m. tonight, the flyby observation period will come to an end, and the astronauts will be heading back to Earth. Back to you, Mitsumi.
Thanks very much, Sweta. And that's Sweta Rassi at the Canadian Space Agency. Julie Payette joins us now. Julie, how exciting is this? Okay, so we're going to go to some live shots now, again, of what's going on. So Apollo 13 went to the dark side of the moon in 1970, but this Artemis II mission, they're going to do something different, right? What are these astronauts going to see that Apollo did not?
They're a completely different mission. Apollo missions were lunar landing missions, and they went very close to the lunar surface, to the point where I actually got my props. This is the moon, this is an Apollo capsule, but it's like Artemis. They were really close, so they see only what is close by, whereas Artemis is a lot further out, almost more than 6,000 kilometers, and therefore they see the entire surface. And because they're on the back side of the moon, which now we call the far side as opposed to the dark side, because it's not always dark. It can be sunny on the far side of the moon, but it's a side we never see from Earth because the moon rotates at the same time as us, and we only see one face all the time.
I think, Julia, I like saying the dark side of the moon just because of the Pink Floyd song. You know, it just sounds so poetic. But you're absolutely right. It's not always dark. So why is it so important that we get to see this part of the moon?
Well, Artemis II is the first manned mission to the moon in more than 50 years. It's a test mission. It's a demonstration flight. We're testing system, emergency equipment, maneuvers, operations. We're preparing for the missions to come. So what they're doing now is something that nobody has done almost ever. are, what the features on the surface of the moon. They're looking for features that a photograph may not be telling us, advancing lunar geology, really, so that we can prepare for the next mission and eventually have someone walk on the moon again.
So, Julie, in about half an hour or so, the astronauts, they're going to be breaking a record for the farthest humans have ever been from Earth. NASA is going to lose contact with that spacecraft at around 6:44, 6:45. What will your thoughts be during this time? Because I think I'm getting anxious even just thinking about it. What will your thoughts be?
Actually, an LOS, loss of signal, is a very common thing in space. We lose signal that whenever there is an obstruction and we can't talk to the ground, things get quiet. And because the vehicle is doing well, the crew is very well trained to take care of anything. During those 40 minutes, it's going to be a time to enjoy the scenery. They're actually going to enjoy that very much. Less activity going on the loops. AOS is not, and AOS, which is acquisition of signal, which comes after, then we're regaining communication, but usually it's a quiet time. We're not worried about that.
Well, I'm glad you're not worried about that, because maybe it's not scary to you, but for those of us who don't really understand everything that's going on, loss of signal sounds pretty scary to me.
It's like having your cell phone and not being under coverage anymore for a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, we're autonomous being, and the vehicle is in great shape. This mission is going so well. We are so proud. I must say, so proud.
But you know what it is, Julie? I'm amazed at how excited everybody is about this. Not just people like you who know what's going on, but all the rest of us who don't really understand the science of it. We're just so enthralled by what's going on. I think it's just absolutely wonderful. We need some hope. We need something wonderful to happen. So, so then, you know, the astronauts will come around that you know, the further side of the moon that we can't see, and then I guess they're going to start heading their voyage back.
What is amazing about orbital mechanics is that as they come out of the other side, they will then literally be taken by the gravity of the Earth, which of course keeps the moon next to us all the time. And their voyage is going to be already sort of, as soon as the gravity picks up, they will do a number of burns for trajectory correction, but just to make sure that they get in at the same place. And then in about 4 days from now, they will decelerate because they're coming in really fast, enter the atmosphere. So that's what we call entry, interface, and then splashdown in the Pacific on Friday.
Well, Julie, thank you so much for this. Your props are not the most high-tech, but they were wonderful and made the case just the same. So thank you very much.
It's the color of the moon. It's white, gray, and black. And according to the astronaut I was listening to them today, there's many different shades and albedos, and we have great geologists on board Artemis right now.
Okay, thank you very much for this, Julie. Back to Earth now. There was a fire this afternoon in a vacant building on Saint Laurent, just north of Sherbrooke. The building was already mostly demolished. The fire was brought under control in a couple of hours. It did, though, spread to an adjoining building. 2 families were forced out, but they should be allowed back a little later this evening, and there were no injuries. A small town in the Upper Laurentians has decided to take on the Quebec government. The town is suing for $12 million in damages for failing to properly maintain a local dam. Now, the residents of Chute Saint-Philippe near Mont-Laurier were forced to evacuate their homes because it was feared the dam would collapse. The town is asking for $12 million for the costs related to the evacuations. Now, it's a case that could set a precedent across the province.
The opinion of many people, including some engineers from Quebec government itself, are saying that those infrastructures are not safe. Quebec government are not providing the sufficient resources in order to keep them secure. And yeah, it's clearly a Quebec problem, way bigger than Chute Saint-Philippe, that's for sure.
The mayor of Chute-Saint-Philippe says his town is not equipped to notify and implement emergency measures should the dam give way. Gas prices are now over $2 a litre, so will those rising prices push drivers to go electric? Here's Angela Mackenzie.
The price at the pump remains high, and there are signs interest in electric vehicles is also going up, according to Electric Mobility Canada's president, Danielle Breton.
I mean, I've spoken to some dealers, and some of them said, EV sales have gone up 30%, but for others, it's gone up 50 or 100%. So it really depends on the dealer and the brand.
According to a report from rates.ca, the number of EV insurance quotes jumped 40% in March compared to a year earlier. EV sales in Canada had been in a slump. Breton says a combination of gas prices due to the conflict in the Middle East and the return of federal rebates are making people EV curious.
Both of these elements make for a lot of interest.
Automotive journalist Mathieu Saint-Pierre adds the low cost of electricity in Quebec is also a factor.
Charging up an EV is a heck of a lot less expensive than filling up even your compact car. So EVs right now at this very moment makes sense.
There are around 500,000 fully electric vehicles on Quebec roads. For many, the cost of EVs are simply out of reach. But with Chinese EVs set to hit the Canadian market later this year, things could change.
There are some projections that some Chinese-made EVs that will be imported here could retail well below the $30,000 mark, even below $25,000. That remains to be seen.
Breton believes EVs are here to stay.
95% of people who buy electric cars will never go back to a gas car.
And while gas prices could be driving more people to consider buying an EV, question is, will it last?
Price at the pump goes back to $1.25 a liter. People are going to be like, you know what? I'm going to keep my Corolla or go buy a new Honda CR-V.
Because more often than not,
the almighty dollar will always have the final word.
Angela Mackenzie, CTV News.
Ottawa wants to know what people think of LED headlights, and people have 2 more weeks to make their views known. Transport Canada is surveying drivers after they got complaints from people who say the LED headlights are too bright and create too much glare. It began after the City of Vancouver asked the federal government to intervene. The survey is on the Government of Canada's website. CAQ leadership hopeful Bernard Drinville got some high-profile support today. Cabinet ministers Simon-Jolene Barrette, Sonia Bélanger and Jonathan Julien say they are all backing Drinville. Jolene Barrette says Drinville is better suited to promoting nationalist views.
He's the one that will be able to pursue our heritage on what we did on the third way, about the fact to defend our values, our autonomy inside Canada, our rights.
The other candidate, Christine Fréchette, has support from a greater number of MNAs. The new leader will be chosen on Sunday. It's promising to be an exciting spring for Montreal sports fans. Both pro hockey teams have officially made the playoffs. Here's Kelly Gregg.
Jersey scores! Canadians win it!
They're back.
It's a 100-point season for Montreal.
With both the Canadians and the Victoire in the playoffs. More of these.
Hudson shoots, scores!
Means more of these.
You're running around, you hear the noise and you look up for TV and you keep going.
At McLean's Pub, the run-up to the playoffs is already a boon for business.
All of a sudden we're in the playoffs and it's still like, now it's 50 goals, is Caulfield going to score?
A question on the minds of many.
He's gone 2 games without scoring a goal here, and it feels like it's been a century, right? Because we've all been accustomed to him scoring literally every night.
In their 108 seasons in the NHL, the Montreal Canadiens have made the playoffs 86 times. That's 79% of the time. If the Habs continue winning and end up with a higher seed, it means they'll start their series here at home, which is even better for the Bars.
The home games, we have that, the rush before. Then we get a rush of people coming in to watch the game, so I guess it is definitely busier. And then if they win, that other rush of people coming back.
And for the team too.
I'm hoping the Habs get home ice advantage because I don't think there's any team that could benefit more from having home ice in the playoffs than the Montreal Canadiens.
TSN 690's Victor Finley says the big difference between the beginning of the season and now is solid goaltending. And it's already been an exceptional year.
Everybody seems to be having a career year for the Habs, right? We talk about Dobich. He's got the most rookie wins by a goalie in a season since Ken Dryden. Oliver Kapanen could be a 25-goal guy. Demidov is a 60-point player. So we're talking about not just history here for Caulfield, but a lot of players on the Montreal Canadiens are not just having career years. I mean, they're having really all-time unique or great seasons in the context of the Montreal Canadiens franchise.
The Victoires clinched their spot in the postseason last Wednesday. So for Montreal fans, this spring will be a double shot of playoff hockey. Kelly Gregg, CTV News.
It is a sure sign that spring is coming. The Club de Golf International 2000 in Laval is now open for its 2026 season. It was cold this morning and there was some snow, but the golfers were out there. The golf course is about 45 minutes north of the border. It's often the first course in the province to open for the season, and this year it opened a little later than usual.
It's the official opening for the season, which unfortunately is 3 weeks later than last year. So we thought spring would never come. A lot of people want to play as soon as the communication went out. Tons of calls within half an hour.
Probably the coldest opening one I've been to, but we'll see how it goes.
I've been waiting all winter to play. I've been playing indoor all winter, once a week, so I'm really happy to be here today.
My season is starting right now, and I feel just in my element. I feel just good. Great.
Lady Gaga has canceled her show at the Bell Centre tonight. She says she's fighting a respiratory infection. Today was supposed to be the last of 3 shows at the Bell Centre. Ticket holders will get refunds as there is no rescheduled date. Lady Gaga's Mayhem Ball tour is nearing an end. After tonight, she has just 2 more dates, one in St. Paul, Minnesota, and the last one is at Madison Square Garden in New York on April 13th. And coming up, she thought she was traveling to meet her new love.
Her spirits are okay, not great, but okay. She is in prison, and it's not a pleasant place to be anywhere.
A warning about a new and dangerous romance scam. And Donald Trump is standing firm on his threats against Iran. Donald Trump sent a message to Iran over the weekend. It was laced with profanities, and he's not taking it back. Trump says the Tuesday night deadline for reopening the Strait of Hormuz is final, or else. But much of the talk today was about the rescue of the 2 American airmen. Here's Judy Trin.
As crowds gathered to watch children roll Easter eggs across the White House lawn, the U.S. president touted his war in the Middle East.
That enemy is strong, not so strong like they were about a month ago.
The example Donald Trump cited was Iran's failure to capture 2 U.S. airmen. The F-15, a $100 million fighter jet, was shot down by a shoulder-propelled missile. The pilot was found by special forces within hours, while the weapons technician climbed up a cliff and hid for 48 hours. The White House presented his rescue as their Easter story.
Shot down on a Friday, Good Friday, hidden in a cave, a crevice, all of Saturday, and rescued on Sunday.
The Americans used 155 aircraft and launched decoys to confuse the Iranians about the location of the 2nd Airman.
Our intelligence reflects that the Iranians were embarrassed and ultimately humiliated.
The Trump administration says Iran will face further humiliation if it doesn't reopen the Strait of Hormuz on Tuesday. The White House says it will bomb critical infrastructure like bridges and power plants.
The entire country can be taken out in one night, and that night might be tomorrow night.
Meanwhile, Iran has rejected a ceasefire proposal. Trump's former national security advisor says the president is in a dilemma.
He's near meltdown. He'd love to get out of this and declare a victory, but he knows he can't do it as long as the Strait of Hormuz is closed.
This war, launched by the Americans and Israelis, is entering its 6th week. So far, 3,500 people have been killed, including 1,200 members of Iran's military, including some top officials. But 13 U.S. soldiers have also died. Judy Trin, CTV News, Ottawa.
The rising fuel costs brought by the war in Iran has some major Canadian airlines introducing fuel surcharges. Air Canada has already adjusted its fares and is also considering cuts to some of its major routes. Air Transat has introduced fuel surcharges on flights to Europe. And WestJet will be reducing some flights and adding a $60 fuel surcharge for certain bookings starting Wednesday.
What WestJet has done, instead of flying 5 or 6 frequencies a day between Calgary and Winnipeg or Calgary and Toronto, they're reducing it by 1 or 2 flights a day. So they're not abandoning any city pairs that they're flying. They're just reducing the frequencies. So that's an easier sell to the Canadian traveling public. They'll just dense up the airplanes, put more passengers on existing flights. But your trip will be adjusted because the flights you originally booked on have been canceled. So it's not so much abandoning; it's just reducing.
Canadian airports are also seeing the effects of more air traffic and fewer air traffic controllers. Transportation Safety Board data finds that the so-called runway incursions, that's when a plane, vehicle or a person is near a runway when they shouldn't be, hit a record 639 times in 2024. But officials are saying the number of incidents categorized as high risk is down to about 1 a year on average. And ICE agents will be coming into Canada this summer for the World Cup. Today, officials with the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement were trying to explain what role the ICE agents will play. They say its agents will not carry firearms and will not make arrests or execute search warrants while they are in Canada, but they will be allowed to work with local authorities on investigations. Toronto has said it opposes ICE agents at the World Cup Games, and the federal public safety minister is saying that the agents have no authority nor jurisdiction on Canadian soil. A woman from British Columbia is in jail in South Korea. Her legal team says she's the victim of a romance scam. They say the victim thought her trip was about love. She was tricked into transporting drugs. Andrew Johnson reports.
Inside this South Korean jail, Spring Parks of Surrey, BC, has been locked up for more than 2 months.
Her spirits are okay, not great, but okay. She is in prison, and it's not a pleasant place to be anywhere.
The 59-year-old is deaf and struggles to communicate. She was caught entering South Korea with close to 4 kilograms of methamphetamine hidden in the bottom of her bag.
The prosecutors, naturally, when they see this amount of drugs and drugs being brought in, they don't believe the allegation that this was a scam.
But that's exactly what Park's defense team is convinced of. After learning more about her story of traveling from Vancouver to meet a man she'd fallen in love with online, who they say first had her pick up a bag in South Africa.
They prey on wanting this love, wanting attention, wanting someone in their actual life in their later years. Even incredibly intelligent people get caught up in this.
And for Parks, who lawyers say had no idea what was in the bag, then came the hard realization her new love was using her as a drug mule.
She had a difficult time processing this whole situation. She was very emotional and sad.
Her daughters, Andrea and Laureen, in Metro Vancouver, learned their mom was in a foreign jail in a single shocking text and haven't been able to speak to her.
It's a mix of trying to stay strong and then feeling completely overwhelmed at the same time.
Since they first went public with their mom's story, they've also realized she is not alone.
Wow, this is really happening to a lot of people.
This is something bigger than our mom at this point.
Vancouver lawyer Jason Tarno has represented several romance scam victims and says the scammers are sophisticated and rarely caught.
They're using burner accounts and burner phones and burner email addresses, and they're gone with the wind after their parcel gets intercepted.
The team representing Spring Parks feels a good outcome here would be a conviction where her disability is taken into account. She's given credit for time already served and is released in a few months. A bad outcome? Up to 10 years in prison. Andrew Johnson, CTV News, Vancouver.
Today's show host Savannah Guthrie was back at work today for the first time since her mother disappeared.
Pretty shot of the sun coming up. Good morning. Welcome to Today on this Monday morning. We are so glad you started your week with us, and it is good to be home.
Yes, it is good to have you back.
It's been 2 months since Nancy Guthrie disappeared. Despite an intensive search, there's still no trace of her. Authorities believe she was taken against her will from her home in Arizona. Coming up, it's a main crossing between Ontario and Quebec.
That's the main bridge to get home and also to get over to some of the parks that I like. Yeah, it's a big pain.
And there will be major work on it until next year. And will there ever really be social platforms that don't keep us hooked?
For breaking news and local news that matters to you, download the CTV News app right now by scanning the QR code on your screen using your smartphone. Or you can also go to our website, ctvnewsmontreal.ca.
An American court has ruled that Meta and YouTube deliberately designed addictive products that harmed young people. The jurors found the tech companies both negligent and failing to provide adequate warnings about the dangers of their products. Carmi Levy is our tech analyst. Hi, Carmi.
Good to be with you, Mitsumi.
So, Carmi, social media companies have been sued for dangerous content. They didn't win. This case was different. It looked at how these platforms worked. Why did this work when the other did not?
Yeah, they switched directions. Usually they did focus on content, so what were people posting on these platforms? And up until now, the tech companies have successfully defended themselves under a clause in the Telecommunications Act in the U.S. known as Section 230, which essentially prevents them from being sued for what people do on their platform. They claim successfully that they build the technology. What people do with it is irrelevant to them, that they shouldn't be accountable. So what this case did was it focused on the design of the platform, saying it is addictive by design, and that the company knew this. And so by switching gears, so to speak, they were able to avoid Section 230 completely and really hold these companies accountable for telling their engineers to design these platforms with addiction in mind right from the start. None of this was an accident. They knew it, and that legal strategy seems to have worked this time.
But Carmen, what exactly do these platforms do to keep us hooked?
The research is piling up, and basically what they do is they use technology in ways that keep us scrolling, keep us viewing, keep us engaged. The reason being, the longer we spend on these platforms, the more ads they can serve up, the more money they make. So certain technologies that we wouldn't think are that big of a deal, but really are, like endless scrolling. You never actually get to the bottom of your feed. It just keeps going. Content recommendations that are very aggressive. So constantly serving up things that they think you'd be interested in to keep you hooked, keep you from bailing out. And then videos that autoplay. That's a big hook as well, because you're scrolling through, it starts to play, you're engaged. You don't actually have to do anything to get to the content. It simply gets fed to you. Put them all together, and it makes it very clear that by design, this is, it is incredibly addictive, kind of like a drug. Mark Zuckerberg once described it as little hits of dopamine, and it seems to be working based on the size and success of the companies.
But still, even with that, Carmi, some people get hooked and others do not. Do we know why? Is it particularly harmful to a certain age group, or is it fair to say that they're more like cigarettes? Why is it that some people get hooked on this and others do not?
Yeah, it is a problem for all ages. Clearly addiction hits all demographic groups, but young people are particularly susceptible, as well as those who would have addictive personalities. But the younger you are, the less likely you are to have developed the kinds of maturity, the kinds of behaviors that would allow you to resist this, to set limits on how you use it, to recognize what's going on beneath the surface. Your brain is still developing, and so it is more susceptible to the kinds of tactics that we're seeing the industry use. And certainly kids, once they glom onto something, I'm a parent, I know this, they hold on to it with all they've got. And the technology seems to be particularly focused on them. The industry has also developed kid-centric features on these social media platforms. In fact, Snapchat is particularly targeted at kids. And so, parents think that they're safe. Kids use them more than they would otherwise. It becomes the center of their social circle. Very difficult for them to break away, even more so than anyone of any other age.
But do you think these platforms really can be changed, though? I mean, isn't their success based on the fact that people do stay on them?
Yeah, I think if you look at how the industry got to be as successful as it is, how these platforms became, homes to billions of people using them every single day, it's difficult to see them weaning themselves off of the algorithms, off of the technologies, off of the endless scrolls and the autoplay videos that make them so engaging. Take away the engagement, you essentially take away the reason to use these platforms in the first place. If you go back 15 years before we had algorithmic recommendations, when social media was really more, your feed was chronological. It was people that you followed. It wasn't quite as addictive. The technology wasn't as sophisticated as it is today. That business model simply wouldn't fly in 2026. And already we're seeing the tech companies, in this case, they're saying they'll appeal it because they literally can't afford not to. The very future of their business hangs in the balance. They can't go back to the way it used to be.
And Carmi, very, very quickly, because we're out of time, but what would you like to see be done with these platforms?
I'd like to see governments be more aggressive at holding them accountable. We have consumer protection laws in place for just about everything else that we buy and use. So any product in a store is subject to very rigid regulation, not really understanding why the same kind of logic doesn't apply to social media applications as well. We should be protecting our kids in the digital space as much as we protect them in the real space as well.
Okay. Thank you very much for this, Carmi.
Appreciate it, Mitsumi.
Weather brought to you by Gratianscaf. Second pair is a gift event including designer frames. A second pair free for a limited time.
Well, the sunshine managed to peek through the clouds a few times today. Our winds were gusting up to 40 kilometers an hour, and they're expected to increase overnight. Our temperatures, on the other hand, well, they remain below seasonal. Today's daytime high was only 4 degrees, and we would typically be around 8. And tomorrow, it's expected to drop below 0, along with some snow. Let's put our futurecast into motion and take a look at the timeline on this. So we'll begin to see increasing clouds into the early morning hours. And tomorrow we will see that snow impact us just before the morning rush hour. So something to consider. It could impact your morning commute. We're not talking about a significant snowfall, though. Around 2 centimeters is what we're expecting. By noon or 1 o'clock, that system has pushed eastwards. We'll see periods of clouds with the sunshine breaking through, so maybe similar to what we dealt with today in terms of our cloud coverage and that sun fighting to break through. Overnight, we're looking at additional clouds pushing eastwards and clearing, because on Wednesday we'll see plenty of sunshine, which I'm sure people will certainly appreciate. Will make it feel a little bit more like spring. It's going to be a little bit on the colder side tonight, -5 feeling like -14, and those winds gusting up to 50 kilometers an hour, which will continue into the early morning hours, along with that 2 centimeter snow that we are going to start our day with. We'll see cloudy skies with some sunny breaks. And to look at our longer range forecast, you can see our temperatures are a little all over the place. We will see lots of sunshine on Wednesday, still below seasonal at 5 degrees. Again, we should be around 8. But come Thursday, we're certainly above that 8 degrees at 14 with a mix of sun and clouds. Friday brings around 6 millimeters of rain. Saturday's looking good, though. We're calling for a mix of sun and clouds, a high of 10 degrees, 13 for our Sunday, and we could see another 5 millimeters of rain there. Monday, this time next week, we are going to be so close to 20 degrees with a daytime high of 18.
In Calgary, a car rolled over. It fell off an overpass this morning. 2 people were seriously hurt. Police say it's not clear exactly what led to the crash, but the roads were icy at the time. A main route going into downtown Calgary was shut down for a while. There are 2 major construction projects this spring, and people in both Ontario and Quebec are being warned of traffic disruptions and headaches. Natalie Van Roy has more.
A major renewal project will start within months right here on one of the largest interprovincial crossings between Ontario and Quebec. The project on the McDonald-Cartier Bridge includes replacing the asphalt layer and doing steel repairs.
That's the main bridge to get home and also to get over to some of the parks that I like. Yeah, it's a big pain. Especially because it was only last year that the Alexandra Bridge was closed down for cars as well.
The federal government confirms work is expected to start in June, continuing into 2027. Construction contractors were invited to bid on the project in March.
Most of the construction will be taking place in the summer, and there's less people on the road at that time due to the summer holidays and school being off. So, I think we're going to try to mitigate as much as we can, but we're just asking everyone for patience.
Also up for construction, Chaudière Crossing, another link between Quebec and Ontario. The Southern Structure Renewal Project is scheduled from this spring to summer 2028.
That's a shame at a time when federal public servants are coming back into the office 4 days a week to hear that some of our major commuting routes are going to be restricted.
I don't drive, but I know that my roommate does, so traveling on this road, this traffic can build up all the way down Boot Street up until even Albert, you could say sometimes.
While this area is under repair, 2 lanes of traffic are expected to stay open, with 1 lane available in each direction at a reduced width.
I think anything that limits through flow for cars as well as for people and people on bikes between the 2 provinces is very difficult, just for general transport as well as for leisure activities.
That's still a good thing that people are going through, but it does it just causes more traffic.
As the National Capital Region's population continues to grow, Stephanie Plante says it's an indicator these projects are needed. Natalie Van Roy, CTV News.
And coming up, we can't afford to waste food.
Shelf-stable items are usually the ones that can exceed their dates.
So it's a good idea to know about expiration dates. And the Globetrotters, the trailblazing athletes who helped break barriers.
Menswear provided by Ernest. Elevate your style with Ernest. Or health, brought to you by Gratianscap's second pair is a gift event including designer frames. A second pair free for a limited time.
Most of us don't really understand food expiration dates, and what we don't know can lead to food waste. Mandy Gator reports.
You can find them on granola bags, cereal boxes, and a whole host of products in your pantry. But how much weight do you put into food expiration dates?
It's ideal to know when that food is going to be best utilized by. Now, that's where it gets a little tricky. So that's just an estimate.
Registered dietitian Julia Zumpano with Cleveland Clinic says there are 3 kinds of food expiration dates. One is sell by, that tells the store how long they should display the item for sale. Then there's best by, or best if used by, which is when the product will have its best flavor and quality. Finally, we have used by, the last recommended day for the product to maintain peak quality.
Shelf-stable items are usually the ones that can exceed their dates. So looking at things like dried goods, like rice and pasta and cereal, canned fruits and vegetables, beans, things like that, usually are pretty safe.
Zumpano says to pay closer attention to expiration dates printed on perishable foods in the fridge, like meat and dairy. That's where bacteria and mold are more likely to grow. She says to always use your senses. If you see mold, sliminess, or the color is off, toss it. If it smells off, sour, or moldy, throw it out. And if something doesn't taste right, get rid of it.
If it is past that date, using those senses, or, if you feel better just tossing it, you can. But the goal here is to reduce food waste.
For Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither.
Today is the last day for advanced polling in 3 federal by-elections. Voting day is next Monday. One of the ridings is in the Quebec riding of Terrebonne. The other ridings are in the Toronto ridings of Scarborough Southwest and University Rosedale. If the Carney Liberals can win 2 of those 3 ridings, they will secure a majority government.
Business News brought to you by Au Vieux de Louvre, where memories and meals come together.
Well, the markets were watching ahead of Donald Trump's deadline to attack Iranian power plants. Lindsay Biscaya has more.
The U.S. stock market in particular made only hesitant moves today ahead of Tuesday's deadline. Equities rose for a 4th straight day, with the S&P 500 seeing its longest win streak since January. The TSX also continued to recover for a 4th consecutive session. Meanwhile, oil climbed once again, and bonds and the dollar wavered. And here are the closing numbers for the day. The Canadian dollar is up, sitting at 71.86. West Texas Intermediate climbed 87 cents. Western Canadian Select is also up more than $5 to 80.51. And the TSX finished the day higher, just over 33,000. Those are your business headlines. I'm Lindsay Biscaya.
The Dodgers are back in Toronto to take on the Blue Jays. The last time the team was in Toronto, they were celebrating a World Series win.
The Dodgers have won the World Series. They have beaten the Blue Jays 5-4.
Tonight, the Jays will be looking for some retribution. This will be the only regular season meeting between the Jays and the Dodgers. And the Jays are looking to break a 4-game losing streak. Restaurants, especially those outside the major cities, are having a hard time finding staff. And Caroline, they say they need more foreign workers.
Yes, and Restaurants Canada is asking for provinces to urgently act to keep local restaurants open this summer by temporarily increasing the cap on temporary foreign workers. Now, Ottawa said they could do it, but only if a province requests it. And most restaurants have yet to hear from their provincial governments, and the first day that they could participate in this was April 1st. We're also going to keep our eye on the sky, of course, and the Artemis II as it heads into, as Julie Payette called it, LOS, or loss of signal on the far side of the moon. Before that AOS, acquisition of signal, as she said, we will try not to worry about it and enjoy the quiet for the astronauts. Like that break from a cell phone that she described it as. We can only hope we could be as calm as she is.
No, because I'm still nervous about it, regardless of what she said.
I am too, but it was very reassuring to hear her description of it, and we will see how it all goes at 11:30 tonight.
And she knows better than us, so there you go. Okay, thanks very much, Caroline.
Okay.
Stay with us. We've got another full night of great shows for you right here tonight on CTV.
CTV News app and stay on top of local stories as they unfold.
Increasing number of abandoned buildings.
Customize your feed and watch live wherever you are. CTVMontreal.ca, your home for news.
The Harlem Globetrotters are celebrating their 100th anniversary. Here's Alex Stone.
The Harlem Globetrotters are turning 100, from the introduction of three-pointers to the signing of the first woman playing on an all-male team. The Harlem Globetrotters have been at the center of it all, influencing the sport we know and love today since their beginning.
I like to tell people when they think about pretty much everything they see in the world of sport, basketball in particular, all those roots go back to the Harlem Globetrotters. The way ball handling you see out of Caitlin Clark's and Steph Curry's and others, right? The game wasn't played that way before the Harlem Globetrotters.
The iconic sports entertainment team was founded in Chicago in 1926, a team's name crafted to spotlight its black athletes. Harlem signaling cultural pride, and Globetrotters hinting at a worldly reputation long before they ever left the Midwest, setting dozens of world records along the way with their gravity-defying dunks and spectacular ball skills. With diversity and inclusion in mind, fans see parts of themselves on the court at Harlem Globetrotter games.
People from all walks walks of life, from every age, from every demographic. They rally around what the Globetrotters represents, and that's part of the inclusivity that they see on the court.
To celebrate their centennial year, the Trotters are on a worldwide 100-year tour and will be launching their brand new video game.